Hello. Um, I'm just gonna kind of go live and ramble for a minute. I've been watching everything I can get my hands on that's been made in the last 5 years to like today on Putin, and I've been watching everything I can get my hands on Russia, uh, as far as documentaries and stuff, and just basically trying to understand better why the fuck it is Putin does what he does. Because like I had my own suspicions and stuff already, but like I wanted to better know how the board looked from all positions before trying to figure out what's going on. And here's what I see. Putin is totally misunderstood by the West and the Western media. Uh, right now, fucking idiots on CNN and Fox News and MSNBC are all going fucking. Well, I don't know about Fox News. I haven't actually seen them say anything about it. I don't really watch Fox that much. I kind of know what they're going to say most of the time. Anyway, Putin's whole thing in the Ukraine is not, oh, we're wanting to take this country over in 3 days. Like that could have been done, and it would have been very costly and cost a lot of munitions and lives and shit unnecessarily. And I think Putin is going for, I don't care how long this takes because reasons. Like, we could get into that, but basically, the West is making a very big deal out of Russian morale. And while it's true an army does have morale, whatever CNN is telling you about Russia's army's morale is bullshit. Start there. And then number two, um, they're doing this for the good of their country, believe it or not. And I'll make that argument in a minute. Those troops' morale is probably pretty much what it always is. They're a bunch of fucking Russian conscripts being used as cannon fodder. And as such, it's somewhat irrelevant what their morale is, as long as they're not surrendering en masse, which there's been some rumors of, but I think most of that was fucking lies. Putin doesn't care how long this takes because this is a show for the world that America cannot protect you. That's what's going on here. And for one reason or another, he likes the fact that this has taken months and will take months. He's going to take the Ukraine as slowly and cheaply as possible because he can. And my guess is the United States never goes to war with him over this, mainly because we have bigger fish to fry. And this is why Russia thinks they can do this. Uh, the Chinese are negotiating with the Saudis as we speak to sell the oil for yuan. That is their own currency. And like I think from the nature of the deal, they would now be accepting either Chinese yuan or US dollars. That would be a very interesting situation from the perspective of it would let the world vote with their money as to who they liked better. And as much as we all like to think America is loved everywhere, we are loved in some places. But there's about half of the world that really hates our fucking guts. We could get into the what fors and whys of that, but mostly it's because we go sticking our dicks in places where it doesn't belong. As such, like Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, fucking, I'm guessing probably even India would join in on this because, like, they're an unknown. They're friendly towards us, but they also have a long history of being friendly towards other fucking sides. So, and all of Southeast Asia, like, are not particularly friendly to us, especially with China being right there. Like, if I were them, I'd be buddying up to China too. So like there's a vast stretch of the world where our sphere of influence is, I would say, greatly diminished now. And that's why China is saying the South China Sea is theirs, Taiwan is theirs, and claiming their own sphere of influence there, because it's true. They are the world power there now. And that's why they're negotiating with the Saudis for fucking oil, I think, now, too. Like, it makes sense for them, especially if your goal is to weaken America's world power to the point where you can kind of take some reins. It's the move to make. That's why Honda and I, the other night, we're talking about this, and we're both saying that, like, it's gonna happen. And then, like, it happened last night. It hit the news that China is talking to Saudi Arabia. Putin knew all of this. Like, this is the whole, like, Putin's not an idiot. Putin's not doing random ass shit to be fucking crazy. He's a well-reasoned, rational person, and for all other, like, personality quirks and, like, might be a little bit paranoid, whole bunch of issues with Putin. None of them are that he's like this madman at the wheel, like they're portraying him in the Western media. So if you assume that he hasn't lost his ever-loving fucking mind, this whole scenario makes way more sense, knowing that the Chinese are doing this now, knowing that the Ukraine is a puppet state of the U.S. and has been for forever, and it's corrupt as hell, and it's full of Nazis, and like there's basically nothing good about the Ukraine. Like, I've been researching the fuck out of Ukraine too, and Jesus Christ, the mountains of shit that the average American does not know about the Ukraine could fill fucking volumes, but the Nazi shit that they don't know about could fill like volumes of its own. Basically, the issue in Ukraine isn't that they're run by Nazis, it's that Ukraine was one of the places that when the Nazis took over, about half of the population was like, hoorah, yay, Nazis. And after the war, those people spent the entire time fighting off the Soviet Union, working with the CIA, and that just in general, that atmosphere and the hatred of the Soviets and the oppressive state that they had really made them not pro-Nazi, but they made them national socialists. Like, I don't even know how to put that. They are Nazis without even having any connection to Hitler really anymore, other than this. The guy they keep trying to make a national hero is like a dude who like worked with the SS in the Holocaust and had his own death camps and shit, and it was just oodles of fun. And as a result, well, like when we hear about the Azov battalion being neo-Nazis, yeah, that's true. They are. All of the Ukrainians are neo-Nazis, basically. Like, their version of democracy is the same version of democracy that Hitler had. Like, Hitler never lost an election, believe it or not. He was very popular. Now, whether that was manipulated or not, you can debate, but you can debate the same thing in Ukraine. And like, I'm not saying that this justifies Putin invading a sovereign country. I'm just saying that part is interesting to me, that he's not entirely lying. And then on top of that, the whole bioweapons, biolabs bullshit, there's no reason to even drag that out, really, except for the fact that it's true. So there are old Soviet biostorage facilities in the Ukraine that were still there in the early to mid 2000s that we're supposed to be there decommissioning. But the issue is they started doing that in 2005. And that's like, a long fucking time. Like, they could have surely burnt up all the anthrax in the world by now. And everyone is saying that, well, they wanted to do research. They had all of those bioweapons. It would be the perfect place to do bioweapons research. Like, that's fucky shit. And, like, is that us? Is that Ukraine? Is that some combination thereof? And, like, I could almost see Putin's point of view. Like, okay, so now you're Nazis. Got it. Oh, and you're developing bioweapons. Okay. And you have close ties with the United States. Oh, and now you want to be a member of NATO. I wonder why he invaded. Like, seriously. From his point of view, it would be hilarious not to invade. Like, the only reason he hadn't done it up till now was because he thought there would be serious consequences that he couldn't live with. And the US is now learning that their ability to have those serious economic consequences is not entirely what it believes. Like, we put on all those sanctions and shit, but the reality is, as long as Russia and China are buddy buddy, and China is now, looking like it's going to be a competing currency in the world and a competing entire economic system, like, that's going to be bad. So now we have one of the largest nuclear powers on Earth teaming up with the other largest nuclear power on Earth to fuck with us. And they're doing it in the way that really the US is weakest, which is economically. Like, if you see a man in a suit of armor, you don't just run up and try to hit him with a wooden bat or some shit. Like, you either go buy a gun or you, like, stab him between the plates or some shit, right? Well, the stabbing in between the plates of the United States armor is that we're still a country, and, like, we still have an economy, and it's reliant upon X, Y, and Z. And if you can conduct your warfare in such a way that it never directly engages our military and just fucks up our economy, that's exactly how I would attack the United States. And I would argue that is what China and Russia are currently doing. They're kind of like tag teaming us doing this. And my guess is the next step in this is going to be China invading Taiwan at some point, but that will be much later. That's going to be like this fall, maybe even this winter. Whereas what we're going to see in the next 6 months is this demonstration on the world stage that America cannot protect you. And, oh, by the way, their money's worth shit. Oh, and by the way, look at their country collapse. And now China invades Taiwan. That would be my guess. The Chinese are very calculated and cold in what they're doing. And I don't know who released COVID, if it was China or the US, but in my opinion, the start of World War III was when the bioagent known as COVID-19 was released. And I would almost bet you that we did that shit. Like, I don't know anything really about it. This is just kind of gut feeling looking at what's happening now. Like, it would not surprise me to find out that there is some larger plan going on with the United States, that they knew this shit was coming, so they decided to cripple the world's economy with a fucking pandemic. See what shook out, basically. Make people desperate. Hope that somebody is stupid enough to go for, attacking Poland or some shit that we can actually do something about. But in reality, like, our efforts to provoke that shit got us here, where, like, Putin's a smart motherfucker and he's just going to slowly take the Ukraine day by day using an army of, like, outdated tanks and conscripts because they're cheap and he has them. And honestly, it's looking more and more like tanks are kind of useless for modern warfare anyway. Like, there's always going to be a place for them, probably, but like the Marine Corps didn't re up its tanks. Like, they completely disbanded, as I understand it, their tank force. So, what do they have that they're replacing that with? And my guess is between drones and land based drones that are like tanks but smaller, like that's already a thing. We just haven't seen them yet. There's no need to have an M1 Abrams anymore. And I think Russia has a shitload of stuff that is completely obsolete for a 21st century war. So they're using it up in the Ukraine. And they're saving all their good shit, which they probably don't even have that much of, to be honest. Because I don't think Russia really has any interest in conquering anything other than like the Baltic states, Ukraine, Poland, and Moldova. Like, I think that's all they really want. And they probably have the forces to take that and secure their nuclear arsenal, which is all they really need to do. When you're holding the world hostage with all those nukes, like, they have their position in the world. They might want Kazakhstan back or something like that too, but I kind of doubt that. Like, Kazakhstan's kind of fucking useless. Then there's China still. Like, it scares the fuck out of me as to what China wants, because what I see China doing is right now we have this like pseudo American empire thing going on of all these military bases all around the world where we basically encircled China and Russia. My concern would be is if China decides to do their own version of that, and then we have the Chinese empire versus the American empire, and I don't know where that shit would go. Nowhere good. Like, I honestly don't think we're equipped or ready to fight World War III from a personnel and mental standpoint. Like, I think we have the right hardware and shit, but like, so much of our fucking population right now is severely mentally damaged from the whole opioid crisis and everything else that's been going on. Like, I don't think there's that many people in the US that are actually like fight ready, especially like fucking soldiers and sailors. Like, we would be very, very shorthanded. But is a 21st century war one of such a nature that we have a bunch of drone pilots and that's all we got? Like, I don't know. That would change things quite a bit, wouldn't it? Like, if the video game generation goes to fucking war, like, the US government handing out fucking weed and Xboxes as fucking training materials. I don't see that happening, though. I really think at the end of the day, we're always going to need boots on the ground. And as such, China's got a serious advantage there. Like, our technological edge is the only thing we have, which, if you believe some shit, is getting smaller every day. But like, I think there's a certain level of hidden shit to the US that, like, yeah, we have a certain level of public technology, but if you notice, when the Chinese started making fifth generation fighters, we had a sixth generation fighter designed and a production model of within a year. It's almost like they already knew kind of what they were going to do. That's kind of what I think is going on. Like, we've got the next 30 years of weapons kind of already mapped out, designed, ready to make, but aren't actually making them yet because we don't want our enemies knowing about them. And once you make more than one or two of them, it gets hard to conceal this shit. I really think that's somewhat what's going on, especially when you see that the sixth generation fighter project just pop up out of nowhere. Which, if you didn't hear about that, that is a real news story that did happen. We designed a whole new generation of fighter bomber in a year. And the Chinese are releasing their own propaganda, basically talking about their new missiles and what they can do. Russia's doing the same. It's very weird to watch YouTube now. It's like 3 or 4 different parties are trying to convince their people that the world is a certain way, and really all of them are false. Like, I seriously think we could have an exchange of nukes on this planet that fucks us forever sometime in the next year or two. I don't see it in the immediate future, like the next 6 months, because, like I said, it looks like Putin's doing this like slow roll thing. I don't know why he's doing that, other than to just demonstrate our weakness. That's the only thing I can think of. Anyway, I'd really like to get. I'd love to like see more of what Putin is currently thinking, and it kind of saddens me that things have gotten to the point where like propaganda is rampant on both sides, and you'll never know what he's thinking. Really, like the best thing you can do is watch shit from unbiased sources from several years ago, and then look at what he's done. That's kind of what I've done. And I really think it makes quite a bit of sense why he's doing what he's doing. And I don't know, it worries me that our media is either ignorant cunts or just blatantly lying to you when they go, Putin's a madman. He invaded the Ukraine. Like, okay, sure. Putin's crazy. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. I don't know if this made any sense or not. I just kind of rambled for 20 minutes, but there you go.